Hey guys and gals, welcome into today's video. We're going to be starting a new series called C.S. Lewis Concepts. It will be some principles that we took from C.S. Lewis's famous book called Screwtape Letters, which we think will be very useful to you. Now, right off the bat, we see a great quote from Martin Luther, who was a key in Protestant Reformation in the early 1500s. Luther was actually key in spreading Christianity throughout Europe. He was a German theologian, and he was very rare and new in his thoughts during that time. So his quote goes like this: "The best way to drive out the devil, if he will not yield to texts of Scripture, is to jeer and flout him, for he cannot bear scorn." Now, as many of you may know, this book is a collection of letters from a senior to a junior devil. The senior devil, Screwtape, is pictured here, well, at least in my mind. We see his collection of letters he writes to his younger pupil, Wormwood, who, I kind of picture it like this. A little annoying little, devil on your shoulder, always there, always annoying. Anyways, getting back to the quote. So now, to jeer and flout would be to openly disregard. So what this means is taking anything that you think would be from the devil, or say his little junior associate here, and disregarding it for what it is. Something designed just to make you feel worse, even though it's not true. Now, if you've read the book, you'll see that this is the duo's main objective, to get you to believe lies. They will use anything, including snaky and sneaky ways, to get you to believe this. Now, another important piece of background for this book is when it was written. Lewis wrote this novel in 1942. This coming right on the heels of the infamous day of Pearl Harbor, as well as the U.S.'s entry into World War II. As we all know, it doesn't take a history buff to know what happened in World War II. The evils and terrible things we saw in Europe and worldwide from Hitler's regime and those who joined him. Europe was nothing but a battleground during this time, and the U.S. was happy to join them after Pearl Harbor. Now this will segue us into our first concept, which will be Concept 1, and it is filtering information from reliable sources. So in the era that Lewis wrote this book, we saw a boom in the U.S. in news and other related events from newspapers. We saw newspaper boys on the streets and all types of organizations being formed. So like today, we see things like competition and someone trying to grab the most attention-grabbing headline. This sometimes even forced companies to bring up false headlines and false news. Don't say false news, right, Trump followers? Anyways, Lewis references in the book that a few centuries earlier, humans knew the difference between false and reality. He says, at the time, humans still knew pretty well when a thing was proved and when it was not, and if it was proved, they really believed it. They still connected thinking with doing and were prepared to alter their way of life as a result of the chain of reasoning. So what Lewis is saying here is when people heard or were told a new fact or something that they didn't know, they wanted to see it proven or shown evidence before they totally believed it and made a change to their life. In today's world, with the potency of Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever social media you're on, it'll take a post or two from a friend or a social influencer to make you think differently. I think what Lewis is really getting at here is he just wants to make sure that you background check the data, where it came from, you filter it from the right ways before taking it as true. The man definitely knows something about teaching and learning, as he cultured an entire generation of people into new ways in thinking in the spread of Christianity, which we are still reading today. So in chapter 2, Lewis talks about how God allows the disappointment to occur on the threshold of every human endeavor. Threshold here could actually mean a number of things. It could mean we reach a certain point, or even the start of something. Lewis uses a few examples in the book, like lovers getting married for the first time and beginning the real task of learning to live together, as well as the tough transition from dreaming aspiration to laborious doing. Because as we all know the cheesy quote, if it's not hard, it's not worth it. So some of you may wonder why God leaves this up to us. Lewis is quoted in the book as saying, desiring their freedom, he therefore refuses to carry them by their mere affections and habits to any of the goals which he sets before them. Lewis mentions how God leads us to do it on our own. If achieving success and reaching the points you desire was as easy as being a Christian, everyone would do it. Come on now. God freely gives us this freedom to see what we'll do with it, to test us and see where we'll take it. Now, it's not saying that you need to be either of these guys, but is it saying that you should be a better neighbor or even a better worker at your job? Of course it is. We should challenge ourselves to make the lives of those around us better, and even making our business better wherever it is. This leads us to our third and final concept of the day, which is praying the right way. Now, many of us have our own prayer life, and that's great. I strongly encourage you to pray each and every day and have an ongoing relationship with God. This is one of the gifts of being a Christian. Another cool thing I think you should try out is joining a small group. Now, with COVID-19 going on, it might not be the right time, but when it's time again, I strongly advise. Being in a small group can help others around you by your witness to them and your prayers for them. They can also help encourage you and pray for you in return. So, in Chapter 5, we see Screwtape advise Wormwood to teach them to estimate the value of each prayer by their success in producing the desired feeling, and never let them suspect how much success or failure of that kind depends on whether they are well or ill, fresh or tired, depending on the moment. Now, I don't know about you guys, but at times when I've prayed, I've almost expected it to be like a magic potion. Say, I'll pray for courage, and then I'm expecting to, boom, be courageous immediately, or the next day just wake up with this abundance of courage and bravery that I didn't have before. Or say you're even feeling really good when you're praying, or say you even feel tired or sluggish when you're praying. Lewis says this all has an effect on the prayer. I believe that here Lewis is saying that we should not allow our emotions to affect our prayers as much as we do. Now, let's not shy away from the fact that all prayer is great. Anytime you communicate with God, it is a step in the right direction. I just believe that Lewis is saying here that we should not let our pre-prayer emotion of happiness or sadness let us think that we have had our prayer answered or not. Many times, as you know, as I know, emotions can affect how we feel physically and mentally, and this goes the same for prayer. Lewis goes on in the next page of Chapter 4, and my apologies, I said Chapter 5 earlier, to let us know that praying to composite objects should not be the basis and central part of our prayer. By composite object, Lewis is talking about anything like a cross or a necklace or something you have hanging on the wall that you would be praying to in place of God. This is in no way a knock on anyone that does this. I've even done this at times. Lewis just warns that prayers to man-made objects can at times constitute the wrong message of prayer in what you think of it. Prayer should be focused to the person who made us, not to the thing we made. Now again, if you are praying this way, it is in no way an insult to God. This is just one of Lewis's points in the early points of his book. Now, lastly, I just wanted to wrap up this video with a few points that correlate with the concepts that we went over today. I think if you read these and put these into effect, you can make some real changes in your life. So I'll just give you a second to read these, and that'll be it for today. Thank you for watching. Please comment your thoughts and reactions. I'm not perfect, so if you think something is wrong, please let me know. And we'll see you for the next video. Thanks again for watching. Have a good day.